Thank you for joining us, Mahek and Purnima, Dr. Mahek Merchant and Purnima Parkey, joining us from different parts of the world. Purnima, you're joining us from India on India Republic Day, which is why you're dressed so beautifully in orange and white. And Mahek joining us from our headquarters in Borehamwood in London, in our boardroom with our lovely logos in the background. And we're here to talk about Women in Science Day. And Women in Science is a topic that the whole company at H.E.L feels really strongly about. We're clearly a science-led company, and we are led by our CEO, who is female, who has a strong passion for bringing out strong women and highlighting the role of women within the organisation. So I think this is the third year now that we've been doing interviews with women in the organisation. And I'm really, really pleased to be talking to you both today about how you've kind of come to this place in your career and how you've joined H.E.L. So I guess we'll start with Purnima, because looking back at your history, there's an awful lot there. You've both joined us in the last year, but Purnima, you've had a sort of a 28-year career. So maybe you want to just sort of talk us through a couple of the sort of highlights of your career and what's brought you to H.E.L today, or sort of in the last year.
Thank you, Viren. Thank you for introducing us. And yes, as you mentioned here, I'm speaking from India. Today is Republic Day, and that's why you can see me wearing white dress. Actually, you mentioned correctly. I'm working in science industry since last 30 years. I am postgraduated from prestigious University Department of Chemical Technology from Mumbai, India. During my research work in polymer blends, I use spectroscopy and thermal techniques, analytical techniques for physical characterization of polymer blends. So I was used to handling analytical techniques, instrumentation techniques, and then I joined in 1992 company called Lab India Instruments in India, which was distributed for Perkin-Elmer instrumentation. And there I started my career into instrumentation. Perkin-Elmer Lab India I worked till 1998. Then Perkin-Elmer directly started their operation in the year 1998 October. There I joined directly Perkin-Elmer LLC. So from Perkin-Elmer, I worked till 2007, different roles into I used to work in the laboratory, from application scientist to product manager to then I had different roles of sales in a different organization called Camo Software Instrumentation. Then I joined H.E.L Technologies. H.E.L started their operation into spectroscopy in the year 2011. They had taken over the company called Variant Technologies. So they were looking for some person into molecular spectroscopy all over India. There I joined in 2011. I was there for 5 years. And then I immersed in process technology. In process technology, I worked. And in 2020, I joined a company called as H.E.L. There I was working into AutoChem as a senior manager. I was heading team of technical people over there, supporting globally. And also supporting Indian sales team. And there I got to know all about, knowledge in parallel chemistry, in reaction calorimetry. After that, I could say H.E.L started operation in January 2022, that is last year. So I was very keen of joining, because whenever there is a new start, I was always there. Whenever something was new, starting was there. Like H.E.L started their operation in India. Even Perkin-Elmer started their operation in India. I was there as a first person. Camo Software, their operation in India, I was there as a first person.
You like a challenge.
Yes, I like a challenge. Even H.E.L started operation, I was there as a first person. So even in H.E.L, that no one was there when I joined at that position. So that was first I joined. And so I wanted to grab this opportunity, because it is a challenging when you are starting something new. It is when you join some set businesses, challenge. If there is nothing is there, if you are starting from scratch, there is always a challenge. you work hard, there are so many trials, there are so many ideas you work on. So, you can work with creativity, innovation, all the ideas, you work with passion. So I joined H.E.L in June 2022. I'm happy I completed 7 months and enjoying this work over at H.E.L, learning new things. Uh, Actually, new things, they are new for me also, but learning from the scratch, developing, it is really fun. Thank you so much.
Cool. It's really lovely to have you on board, and in fact the whole India team are absolutely great. They're so motivating because they're all so keen to learn. It's really lovely to have you all on board. And Mehek, you're sort of almost there at your 1-year anniversary. As kind of, I think you joined in February 22, so we sit here at the end of January and you're almost there at your 1-year anniversary. So I believe that this is your first job out of university. So for you, it's like you're really at the start of your career, but maybe talk us through where you sort of got to in terms of how you got from sort of school to here.
So I actually started my degree. I was doing biochemical engineering at the University of Westminster, and then I did an integrated master's. So I came out with a master's degree, and whilst I was doing my final year, it was my supervisor for the project that said, why don't you do a PhD with us? Why don't you continue? And I thought, oh, well, I won't get the opportunity again. So I just took it. And I stayed at Westminster and did a PhD in biotechnology using fermenters. I was working with a variety of different volumes of bioreactors, working with fungal cultures. I was working with bacterial cultures. And as part of the PhD, I would teach. So I would teach undergrad students and master's students. I would teach them practical skills as well as theoretical knowledge. And then I finished up there and started looking for a job. A variety of different things. I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do. This came up and I thought, actually, that's pretty much perfect. It's, I get to work with bioreactors. I get to work in a company where they're building them and looking at the design. And it's kind of like a consultancy thing whilst doing sales and going in and speaking to different clients. So it was actually the perfect job. So I took it with both hands.
Excellent. And we're so pleased to have both of you on board. I mean, I guess being women in what's traditionally seen as a man's world can't have been easy, or I'm imagining it can't have been easy. What obstacles would you have found along the way? I'm hoping that when you sort of answer, I'm hoping that Mehek is going to have had less obstacles along the way than Purnima would have had, but that's kind of my assumption. But let's hear from you, Purnima. If you think back to sort of when you started your career, were there that many women involved in science when you first started?
Yes, actually, I started in university where male students were more than female, naturally, because I was into physics. My graduation was into physics. Male students were more. Again, I joined where the Department of Chemical Technology, it is chemical engineering college, basically, technology. So male students were more than female students. Always.
What was the percentage split?
Then it was like very, I can say 6 to 7% in totally in our department. Also, hardly 2 to 3 females were there in my department of physics. Yeah,
really, gosh.
And then into analytical instrumentation, when I joined in 1992, that company, again, technical female, where we were 2 people, females were there actually. Then one student, another Purnima, joined in that company. She was into bio field. She was handling PCR, and I was handling this analytical instrumentation. So totally 3 female students were working into the analytical instrumentation. I think reasons could be traveling, because in analytical instrumentation, a lot of traveling was involved. we had to go for the customer support, for the sales or meeting the customers. But I could see more women after 2011 joining analytical instrumentation industry after 2011. So fortunately, I can say I could get good support from my colleagues, from my bosses, customers, and more importantly, from my family. Always, colleagues, my bosses used to say, "Oh, don't worry, go ahead, we are with you." Any long distance journey or any long distance journey by train is there, or so they never used to go me alone. They used to send me someone with me as a company. You should not go alone.
Okay.
You should not travel alone. So that kind of, so to I can say there was no obstacle as a woman. In fact, I could get privilege working like always. I was supported all by all the people all the time.
Wow.
So
Okay.
maybe, yeah, it is a advantage also. But yes, you can, as you mentioned, there is the politics. Healthy politics is everywhere. I cannot say. So one has to face it smartly. You have to start with that. You have to face that. You have to work with that only and go ahead like that.
Well, do you think there was sort of a cultural change within India in that sort of 2011 that things
Maybe
changed, or?
maybe from maybe job also. Some females started working. They used to started traveling. There was people started doing masters in MBA. They started doing, so they used to
Right.
get the jobs into management. So maybe I can say roughly I can say 2007 or after 2007 and 11. In 11 I can say analytical instrumentation many female students.
Right.
Yeah. So that means
Mahek,
there were colleagues, there were employees who joined directly from the campus interviews. It used to happen like that.
yeah. And Mahek, I don't know what your sort of university experience was like. Was it a positive one, or I don't know, how was it for you?
Most of us were women at
Oh,
university.
wow.
Yeah, there was a lot of us. I think it was more with the degree pathway. So it was very much like, so we would have lectures of biomedical sciences, and so it was a life science campus, and there was more women than men. Then when I was doing my PhD, again, the women outnumbered the men. But saying that, it was odd because in my group, my supervisor was a man, and very traditional in his mindset. And so there were a few times where, he would say, "Oh, no, 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 you shouldn't be doing that," or let him. And I would argue and say, "No, if he can do it, I can do it. There's no difference between us." If anything, like when, as the years progressed, I think it was mostly women, and there was one guy in our lab, and he started after I did. So I had seniority over him, and I actually remember fighting with my supervisors to say, he was given a position that really should have come to me. And I said, "No, that's mine. And it's mine. And I've been here longer than him. There is absolutely no difference between us. Other than, I've been here longer. I've worked and I've been with you, and I've done everything. That should be my position." And he said, "If you think you can do it, you do it then." And I did. And that was,
Go.
and honestly, that's what it was. And I was like, "Why are you giving it to him?" So, and I proved him wrong, and I proved him that I can do it. And I mean, Panama's lucky it was, sounds very chivalrous that people would help her, make sure she got home safe and stuff. But I remember carrying a 10-liter bottle of water upstairs, and a guy wouldn't even open the door for you. So, which is, fine, equality and everything. So, and I did it, and I was happy with it.
Was there anybody that you can sort of think of that was a good, positive role model for you along the way?
Oh yeah, I mean, the dean was a female. Top of our, people who were doing a lot of the intense research was getting, they were getting grants and they were doing all the parts of the work that you think, gosh, she's making a difference, and they're putting out publications and bringing in the money. Those were the women. Women were doing it. There was one lady, and she got her professorship, and she had a whole group of students, and they were all women. And she didn't have any, and I don't think it was she specifically picked women over men, but all of her team were all females, and it was really nice. And she was Indian, and all of her girls, she had a mix of all different cultures, and they were the ones who were really, they were there, and she pushed them the hardest, I think. She made sure every week they had meetings to say, where are you? What are you doing? Why are you not in the lab? She'd come, she'd check.
Do you think she was harder on you?
I think she had expectations. She knew you could do a lot more than what you think you could. So she pushed everybody. She pushed us to say, there's nothing stopping you from doing more.
Fabulous. And that was a huge help for you, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
It
she always
gave you that goal to go, I can do it.
Yes, very much.
Purnima, for yourself, were there people who were a big help along the way?
Yes, actually, my mentor in the my workplace was my manager, actually. Mm-hmm. And also my managing director, Mr. Bhalerao, and my manager was Anil, whom I used to report. They used to say, directly you should visit to the customers. You should not have any fear. If even you don't know, you go and you work in the field. You will gain more experience into the field. So I started working into the field. I started going to the customer, visiting to the customer, and learning, demonstrating the instrument. Like there were FTIR, or you can say FTIR imaging, or thermal techniques like DSC, TGA. I started visiting myself, and then I gained confidence. So I can say these were the people who gave me confidence at that time.
It's lovely. Sort of in terms of sort of women in the workplace, I guess, have you found difficulties being a woman in the workplace, like things like just women's toilets, or finding that men don't, like Mehek was saying, men don't help you out with carrying big heavy boxes and things like that. Have you found that at all, Purnima?
No, really not. Actually,
really not.
I didn't face.
Okay.
No.
That's just such a nice thing to hear, that doesn't actually exist. I mean, I hope you haven't seen it so far at H.E.L, Mehek. I hope that people are helping out and.
Oh yeah, no. Here, I have nothing like that. Everyone is so willing to help with everything and anything. So that kind of stuff's not here for sure.
Yeah. I guess sort of if we're looking forward at sort of women in science, I don't know what advancements you'd like to see in the next sort of 5, 10, 15 years. What would you say to your daughters, your granddaughters? What would you like them to be saying about a career in science for themselves? It sounds pretty positive at the moment. I don't know what advances you'd like to see.
I really wish people should stop thinking of us women scientists or as a woman scientist. We happen to be scientists who happen to be women. But I really look forward to the day when one is not slotted as a woman scientist,
Really?
Yes. Sometimes we can see male egos while dealing few situations. But it is the matter of handling. Women should respond such situation by working sincerely. And there is always restriction of the time during travel for safety purpose. We cannot match with men in such situation, of course. we are women and we should be proud of women that first. And then, it is not, it is like that people are taking education into history, or we are taking education in science. One should think in that way. That day should come. Otherwise, this interview would not be there as a woman scientist. That day should come. I feel always like that.
I don't know. You're both so positive. I'm wondering why. I'm wondering why this day is therefore there. You know, if you see the advances since Purnima was at university and the women made up 6%, and Mehek's experience sort of 20 years later, where it's the majority, where else is there left to go, Mehek? I don't know.
In all honesty, I think it does still exist that, you know, men are favored in women over women. I see it in certain aspects, maybe not in my particular role as like in science and at work. I've seen it in other places, like, you know, I would do voluntary work outside of here, and sometimes with that you would see like men would get picked for certain positions and certain roles over women, and there are certain things that people do have a mindset that this is a man's role and this is a woman's role, and that still exists. And I think that's something that I would like to see not exist. You know, I would want to see all more women in a higher position, or, you know, a woman is the director of this company, or is the CFO, or the whatever. I think it should be a woman doing it, but I think it should be an equal split. You know, for every one man, there's a woman, but I don't see it as being, oh, well, we should put a woman in this position just because, you know, we don't have any. It's based on merit and what a woman or a man has gained, that knowledge, that qualifications. You know, if there's like, I mean, you know, take me in Panama. She has so much more experience, so much more knowledge, and, you know, the position that she holds is, you know, it shouldn't be just because she's a woman. It's everything else that she's gained, so much more that she's done compared to like me. If I was, so that kind of stuff, I think it's where you are and where you sit should be solely based on merit and not your gender, or even, you know, your orientation, or it's a skin color. Every should just be blanketed. It doesn't matter what you look like, who you are.
Yeah, I also would like to hear women make up actually really 28% of workforce in science, technology, and engineering. That is called as
in
STEM.
India.
Yeah, not only it is in the world. It is 28% in the world. Yes, and gender, like more percentage is seen in biological sciences of women. Women scientists you can see in biological sciences. More you will see in chemistry, computers. Chemistry more, then computer mathematics just 25% or subject like that, and 17% engineering profession. So now percentage is increasing. I can say indeed percentage is increasing in all the fields of science and technology. You can see more women, and this situation will definitely improve everywhere. There will be in every field there will be women.
So, okay, here's the $1 million question then. How do we go about attracting more women to science companies, and specifically to H.E.L? I would dearly love to see more women in H.E.L in science roles. What is it that we have to do in order to attract more women then?
Yes, actually I can say H.E.L is a company which is having instrumentation, high value instrumentation. First of all, there you need more of a different sort of like experience into the chemical engineering, either chemical engineering or PhD chemistry background. So parallel chemistry, you need more PhD chemistry, and to handle like reaction calorimetry and everything, you need chemical engineering background people will be more comfortable working, So more in science, we have to show the value, like how will be the growth first by working here. What will you get? How will you get?
Purnima, say
Here,
that again.
as you,
Sorry.
sorry,
It cut out. It cut out then. Can we start that again? Because it cut out. So the question, let me start the question again. So how do we get more women into specifically technology companies or science companies, and specifically for H.E.L, how do we attract more women into this company?
Already it is growth is there actually, as I mentioned to you, in analytical instrumentation, not I can say in H.E.L also we can see there are women in different roles. We can see there are this instrumentation in H.E.L they are having high value, where reaction calorimetry or parallel chemistry. So parallel chemistry instrumentation needs PhD in chemistry, which we can definitely get from different, from universities. And we have to train them. We have to train them for next 3 years, 5 years. We have to show them the path. So basically, people who are the people who have worked into the analytical industry for PhD chemistry from PhD chemistry background, they will definitely be suitable in this particular industry. And also chemical engineers, we need to find out. Nowadays, there are more chemical engineers you can see in the field also. So we can hire those engineers, train them, and show them the path for next 3 years, 5 years, and what is their growth. Definitely they will join. And our more importantly, yes, more importantly, our CEO is a woman, definitely. So more, employees will have more faith that we can get some growth here. Because
so a defined career path,
yes,
would help in attracting more women into the industry.
We need to show them. If they if they join now, after 2 years, what will be their, I'm not saying exactly position, but where they will be. After 3 years, where they will be. Like that.
Okay. Mehek, does that sound, you're kind of pondering there? I don't know. You tell me what your thoughts are.
I mean, I can't say for how to get someone into H.E.L specifically, but based on my own experiences and how it was at school. When I was at school, I went to an all-girls school, and pretty much everybody wanted to be a doctor. Everybody. And honestly, other than that, nobody had any other pathway. Nobody else knew what they wanted to do. And so when it came to, I remember when it came to people doing their A-levels, people still sat there thinking, yeah, I'm going to do medicine. And it was sort of like at school, nobody said, well, why don't you try this? Or what about like computer engineering or chemical engineering? Or it was either you did medicine, and if you didn't get the grades in medicine, people did biomedical sciences. And then what happens after that? I know friends who some ended up doing it. They did research in labs, and other people ended up going into banking or finance. But that was the problem. Other than becoming a doctor, what else do people want to do? And I think maybe as a society, you should target kids to realize there's more. You could be anything. And when you say you could be anything, maybe tell them all the options that are out there.
Anything's too big a word, maybe.
Yeah. So, people say, you could be an astronaut, you could be this, but okay, realistically, what else? What can I actually be? What are my options? So maybe that when you tell, this little girl, yes, you can be a doctor, okay, but if it doesn't work out, there's a whole bunch of other options that you can
but that sounds like this is a second-rate option, and I just don't think that it is.
No, but there's more to life than what you see. Okay, the doctor, the pharmacist.
Yeah.
The banker. There is more. There's so much more, and it's those things. Like if you have an interest, you see you have a daughter who suddenly she has an interest in computers. Why not push her in that direction? Why not turn around and say, actually, you know what? Why don't you become a programmer? Why don't you look at graphics design? That's what I think. And I think, you know, students who enjoy doing, I don't know, like people who enjoy boxing, why not say, you know what, she's an active child, she likes boxing, why don't you become a boxer? Or it's that they're really, push your child into something that they want to do and something that you think actually,
but make it broad.
yeah.
Let's not have such a tiny brush that you can either be a doctor or nothing. Okay.
Maybe I mean I just remember that it was so many people who were like, yeah, I'm going to become a doctor, and it's like, but there's more. Doctor isn't it. You could be anything else and everything else, and science is so broad. You could be whatever you wanted to be. You know.
And of your sort of graduating class from A levels, do you know how many of them have actually gone on to be doctors, and do you know what the rest are doing?
I know. I think it was one girl actually became a doctor. A few others went into biomed, but a lot of the others, it was nothing ever crazy significant.
Right.
Like I know, and I think maybe my experience is not that great, but a few, a few became pharmacists and a few became things like that. But my school never really pushed and said, I've never heard back. Yeah, I never heard back from my school to be like, where are you now? What are you doing? And I think that's probably a flaw in itself that somebody should check. You're doing great things. Yeah. Why don't you come back and tell all the other girls all the great things that you're doing?
Yeah. There's definitely a miss there.
Yeah.
So go on. I think we're sort of nearing the end of our time. I guess if you had to tell me what was the best piece of advice or the worst piece of advice you were ever given, is there any sort of one thing that sticks out? Purnima, have you?
To newcomers?
No, anything that you were ever given, any piece of advice that you were ever given.
Yes, that's what I think.
You.
Yes, that's what, as I mentioned to you, it was like you have to be in the field always. To learn something, you have to be in the field in our type of work, because the more we meet customers, more we get more work to solve, we get more challenges and more to work on. Then only we can, we can get the answers from the questions only. So that's why we should meet more customers.
Okay.
That is a mantra in this particular industry, I can say, analytical industry. By sitting in the office, you cannot work. You have to visit. You have to learn from customer what is his problem. You should try to provide him solution. That is our, mantra.
That's a great piece of advice. Quite frankly, in any business, any sort of bad piece of advice you were ever given.
Yes.
Purnima, any bad advice that you were ever given? Don't name names. Don't name companies.
No. Fortunately not. Really, fortunately not. Because I can say when I just joined the company from my college, and I learned so many things from the salespeople with the salespeople team. And when I left the company, there I was worked for 15 years. So by that time I had grown up. I had seen the people. I'd seen the world also. So you know how to handle situations. So bad advice hardly you can get to know whether it is bad or good. So
Excellent.
So listen to those advices only which were fruitful.
So Mehek, was there ever any sort of great advice that you've received in your career?
So I got two pieces of advice that I think really stick with me. The first was it doesn't matter if anybody else thinks you can't do it. As long as you think you can do it and you try, that's all you've got. You can only ever try, and that's how you'll know if you can do something. And the other piece of advice I got was there's no point stressing over something, especially if you can't change it. So like if you're running late for the bus, or if the bus isn't going fast enough and you're late for work, you stressing about that changes nothing. Doesn't make the bus go faster, doesn't make you get there any quicker. The only person that suffers when you stress is you. Those are my two.
That's fabulous. I like that. I like both of those, actually. Both of you have been absolutely fantastic to talk to. Absolutely brilliant. I've really, really enjoyed this. So thank you very much, Dr. Mehek Merchant and Purnima Parker. It's been absolutely lovely to speak to you today in honour of Women in Science Day. Purnima, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your India Republic Day. And Mehek, I hope you have a lovely rest of your day in the office.